Action fanatics, welcome to another edition of the Bulletproof Podcast. I am your host, Chris the Brain. Joining me once again, it is Ryan Campbell.
Hello, everyone. Salutations, and hopefully you are having a wonderful Thanksgiving week.
And we should all be thankful because you know who's back with us this week. It's the Toyman, Chris DePetrillo.
Oh, top of my list.
I am thankful to be back. Had a brief reprieve from the podcast because I did not get to see The Running Man, although I have seen it as we are recording today. But I am happy to bring all of our listeners into 007 heaven with my return.
Oh, yeah. Well, you saw The Running Man. You know, obviously me and Ryan shared our thoughts on it and then some and dissected the film. Your thoughts on the 2025 version of The Running Man?
I really enjoyed it. You know, Glenn Powell, I think, has been on a roll, and I think he's going to end up cementing himself as one of those not unlikely action heroes, but he can kind of fill a void where needed. He can do the drama, he can do the action, but he's got that charisma down where he can be funny. I think that a lot of his reaction and personality in The Running Man can carry over to other films. I thought he did a great job in this one. Josh Brolin, I felt that I don't want to say he was underutilized, but I kind of felt like they didn't push him as much as they pushed the overall aspect of the game. But, you know, so I can't really say anything either way on him. But overall, great experience. I enjoyed it. Zach, my son Zach, for anyone who does not know, said that he really enjoyed it and he cannot wait for me to show him the original. And, you know, not only is he well aware of who Arnold Schwarzenegger is, but he is a big fan of the original Match Game. So he is very curious to see how one of his favorite players, Richard Dawson, plays out in that film.
He might be heartbroken when he sees that version of Richard Dawson. But you know what might lift his spirits? I know he always lifts my spirits. The one and only Yaphet Kotto. So there's that. Nobody else is
I'm not the one who's seen it for the first time. Yeah,
You're not a Yaphet fan? All right.
I am. He's really good in the original Running Man.
He's good in everything.
We know why Brain is showing him love, though. It's not for The Running Man. We know why you're showing Yaphet Kotto love.
Why is that? Eye of the Tiger?
Yeah.
That's right.
Of course. What else could it be?
His plane has a theme song, for God's sake. Does anybody else have a plane with a theme song? I don't think so.
We might have a theme song for a blimp a little bit later today.
You're right. All right. Well, before we get into that, I want to take a moment to congratulate our latest winners. Howard, Roger, Andrew, and Sean. They won a copy of The Naked Gun on 4K. And definitely want to keep your eyes open for any future giveaways we may have. And you know what? If you'd like to share the prize that you won on social media, you could tag us at Bulletproof Pod on X and Blue Sky and at Bulletproof Action on Instagram and Facebook. That's exactly what Emilio did last week when he won the Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. And you can follow Emilio if you'd like to. He is at the Film Maestro on X.
Oh.
So there you go, Emilio. Thank you for sharing on social media. And I hope I just got you 2 more followers.
There you go. We're very thankful for everybody that participated in those giveaways and thankful for your continued patronage on Bulletproof Action.
Well said, Ryan Campbell.
I try.
Very formal, very professional.
He is. When he wants to be, he can be quite professional. Other times he's really
I'm getting all my good points in now.
Yeah, because he's about to get angsty and very dramatic about things, I have a feeling. This time out, I wanted to do something that we have never done before, and that's have an actual good show. No, I wanted to do a James Bond movie, and why not do one that celebrated its milestone 40th anniversary earlier this year? Also notable because Toyman, this was Roger Moore's final turn as 007.
Mm-hmm.
And this one is one, I mentioned it last week, Ryan. You know, the Roger Moore, like this one and Octopussy and Moonraker were kind of my first, and I never saw Moonraker until much later. but I remember my aunt had like a box of like trading cards, and there was like Star Wars, which of course but intermingled in there was also like Moonraker cards. I was like, oh, what the hell is this space thing?
Everything had trading cards back in the day.
Right. She may have had everything did. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I was aware, but, and I think I told this story when we did the James Bond countdown a couple years back. I remember standing in line to get in, and Ryan Campbell will appreciate this part, standing in line to get in to see Return of the Jedi.
There you go.
And they had a giant standee of Octopussy in the lobby. And I proclaimed, I want to see Octopussy next. And Kenny K.
Octopussy.
Yeah, he did. He was not a fan of me just throwing out the pussy word in public, I guess, at that time. And I didn't know anything. I'm like, well, what's the problem? It says it right there. I could read.
It was fit for public consumption.
Right. It's a PG movie. Come on now. So, yeah. So it was either Octopussy or this one that was the first one that I saw. And it was a rental. I never saw these movies in the theater, despite wanting to see Octopussy next.
I guess this will help frame the discussion as we go on. But I would just say my first Bond was Pierce Brosnan, and then in my formative years, teens, high school, going to those years was when Daniel Craig came on. So a little bit different. And I think I had seen bits and pieces, but after kind of getting into Bond, I didn't really feel the need to go back and watch a ton of the old stuff.
Right.
And I think that's probably what's going to frame most of my thoughts about this film.
Well, and that's, something I do also want to bring out, because Bond being around for 60 plus years now is a lot like a lot of other long running things. Like I would put Bond, I would put Saturday Night Live, I would put wrestling. Whatever the first wrestling thing you saw and really got into, you are going to favor that for the rest of your life, more than likely. Whatever Saturday Night Live cast was your cast,
right? That
was the funniest fucking shit you ever saw. And ever since then, it hasn't been funny since blah, 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 blah. Fill in your cast.
Right.
And the same thing with Bond. I think if you started with somebody, that's your Bond. I mean, yeah, you could go back and discover, and I'm sure some have, but by and large, I think whoever your first Bond is, that's your guy. And for me, it was Roger Moore, who obviously had a little bit more tongue-in-cheek style, a little definitely lighter than like the Daniel Craig stuff. But we'll get into that. Let's do it. It's A View to a Kill, released on May 24th, 1985. Interestingly, started with a disclaimer about the Zorin name that's used, because there was an actual Zoran Corporation, so it was very similar.
So that was there like in 1985. I was curious about this, if this is something they'd added in recent years because of some other event.
No, I think they were getting ready to get their asses sued, and they put this thing in the front and said, no. That Zorin is just a coincidence, and anybody else, any other names that we may have missed that existed.
Can you imagine the meeting when like the movie is done in post, like, and someone walks into the room like, sir, we have a problem. There's a real corporation that's dangerously close to the evil corporation in our movie that we say the name of 300 times.
Right. The main villain is named it. Yeah. It's
right.
Just, we're painting them as a company that wants to destroy lives and Silicon. Yeah, we'll get into it. But yeah, that we get the disclaimer. Then we get the classic James Bond open. And next thing you know, Toyman, we are in snowy Siberia.
We are, and James Bond dressed like Snowjob from G.I. Joe for this mission that he's on.
Yes, he is, and he gets to do a little skiing. He finds a frozen and dead 003, and he's got a microchip in his jacket.
Which I don't think we find out that it's 003 until
we don't know
later, right? But I mean, you're assuming it's another agent. So
right, he found this microchip that the 003 took from the KGB, but now that's all well and good. But much like 003, they don't want him to leave Siberia with said microchip. So we get to see a classic Bond making his escape. First on skis, then he trades his skis in for a snowmobile. And when that blows up, he takes the skid of the snowmobile and he does a little snowboarding while the Beach Boys play.
Love it. I know I'm on board with all this stuff. I liked all this stuff. And this is actually one of the only times we see Bond kind of competent and able to actually have his plans go through to fruition in this opening scene.
And if you notice the KGB people that are chasing him, they're kind of like bumbling and fumbling around the mountain. So it's almost like, going back to the 4K that we just gave away. It's very Naked Gun-ish in a way that you're getting this mission, but then there's this, humor thrown into it. And, more as James Bond was known for that. And, to the point that you guys made a couple of minutes ago about, Pierce Brosnan being Ryan's Bond and Roger Moore being yours. This and License to Kill were the first two films that I remember watching because they used to be on HBO incessantly when we were growing up. So they're the two that I have the fondest memories of. But as we go forward, I don't know if it's just been so long since I have watched one of the Roger Moore ones. I've almost forgotten how goofy they could be.
Yeah, they
Like,
definitely
I forgot about like these little humorous asides and quips
Right.
and stuff like that. He was still the excuse me. He was still like the smooth James Bond, but it was almost like his character flaw was that he was a bit of a goof. He wasn't as suave as, Timothy Dalton, who would follow.
Well, yeah, and Timothy Dalton, obviously, they also kind of made that much more serious and definitely more like action packed. Like to me, License to Kill is the most action packed of the James
I would
Bond.
say so.
movies.
I would say this still feels like a very British James Bond, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
it seems.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I
It's
could
almost
see this
like,
being on like the BBC and not quite being like the American. Like they haven't really Americanized it and action movied it up yet. This still feels very 1980s British, I would say.
like a little bit of a culture shock with it.
Right. And we should note that some of the KGB guys that have been on them are in this helicopter. And of course, we know what happens when there's a helicopter, especially if you have a flare gun, because then it isn't long before we have an exploding helicopter.
Yeah, definitely. If you ever have a smoke signal go off when you're flying your helicopter brain, just like hold steady. I mean, it's smoke. It's not fire. It's just smoke. So just hold the stick.
Right.
Know that it's going to dissipate, and then we'll see where we are. Don't just start frantically flailing about.
These guys weren't the. I mean, they're in Siberia, so I mean, they're probably not the best and brightest that the KGB had to offer. They got the Siberia assignment. That's pretty shitty.
I would like to have seen if like the dog from like the Thane came running by too. That would have been like kind of a nice little Easter egg.
So once Bond takes care of that, an iceberg submarine shows up. The little Union Jack on the hatch.
I like it because you got to know that way. It's very clear that this is where
this is my friendly passage, and
you can't put on the outside, brain. You can't put like "Long Live the Queen" bumper sticker on the back of it.
On an ice, yeah, because it has to be disguised as an iceberg.
That's right.
And of course, there is a beautiful captain of the ship that is going to help James celebrate his successful mission.
I adored her little white wood like wheel that was like a ship wheel. I don't know if you caught that or not. It's like this like high tech like spy sub, but then the wheel is like a classic ship wheel, but like a little mini one. I like that little touch.
Then Toyman, we cue the Duran Duran, the only James Bond song to go #1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
That's another reason why I tend to look back on this one with fond memories, because I am a huge Duran Duran fan.
Yeah.
The first album that my parents ever bought me was the 45 of the Reflex. And A View to a Kill A View to a Kill is to this day one of my favorite Duran Duran songs. It's a song that little Zach has become a fan of, even though he has not seen much James Bond at all. So yes, it was nice to kick back and relax and hear the sweet sounds of Duran Duran as I was settling in for the movie.
I remember playing that 45 of the Reflex like over and over and over again while I was playing with my Kenner Indiana Jones figure.
Ooh, that's a nice afternoon.
Interesting
right
combo. Yeah.
And I probably got them both the same day. It's probably like,
Was Indiana Jones going after Bib Fortuna as well?
I don't think, but it was just like some other rent because that was the only indie figure, like the only one I got for whatever reason. So I think it was just a bunch of hodgepodge. I think I had like I think I had the Perseus from Clash of the. I had like just a box of like random crap.
Right.
I had like a Tron figure that we got at a garage sale that looked like a dog chewed it. I had a lot of bullshit, and I think it was just the oddballs. I don't think I mixed them in with the Star Wars.
That isn't. That is a nice little
GI Joe though. Yet I don't know yet.
Yeah, I think GI Joe. You always say came after, like
Oh, it certainly did. I'm just trying to. How was I into my GI Joes yet?
But that's a nice little tidbit of trivia there. I'm surprised by that. Like I would have thought, like that at least. I mean, Skyfall was done by Adele, like at the peak of Adele's powers. I'm kind of shocked that didn't hit number one.
That's true. Well, you know
That's
what? I
nice
could have been reading some
trivia.
outdated information. It may have been up to that point. Was the first one. You are correct about that.
What, that Skyfall was number one?
It could be, is what I'm saying. Like it could have been at the time. That was the first one to go to number one. It may still be the only number. We'll have to. I'm sure if it's wrong, someone's already cursed at me.
Yes, Skyfall reached number one in 11 countries.
All right, there you go. But was it on the Billboard Hot 100?
Although it peaked at number 2 on the UK singles charts.
Okay.
And number 8 on the US Billboard Hot 100. So
there you go.
I don't know what countries it did touch, but I mean, it doesn't sound like it did in the UK and the US. Which
number 1 Billboard Hot 100, as far as what I saw, and that was probably on IMDb, so it could be bullshit. All right. Duran Duran. I love the song. I love the music video, which they were on the Eiffel Tower, if I'm recalling correctly, Toyman.
Yes, they were. And very much tied into the movie. It wasn't just like a throwaway regular video, and then they added the song to the soundtrack.
Right. So then Bond returns to MI6 headquarters. He chats with Miss Moneypenny, who's certainly not dressed for the office. But then before his small talk gets interrupted, M calls him in. The Minister of Defense is there. Q is there. And the topic of discussion, Ryan Campbell, is microchips.
Very. I do like this because Bond always seems to be very much on the forefront of like technology. If you go through the years, they always try to be like whatever the new thing is that's coming up, whether it's bias in media or AI or microchips or oil or whatever it is, like in the world, that kind of ripped from the headlines kind of thing. They like to try to incorporate that into the plots. And I like all that. And of course they talk about how, at the time the big fear was a nuclear blast would fry every chip and we would be all sent back to the Stone Age. So yes, there's now a chip brain that is unfriable from like an EMP.
Mm-hmm. And that microchip is an exact match of the one they found with the KGB. So now
Russia's got the tech too.
They either made or do they have a pipeline into Silicon Valley? And all of this has started to happen when French industrials Max Zorin got a hold of the company over there, and he's the prime suspect.
Get your notebooks out, people, because this plot is gonna take travel across the world. We're gonna be routed through all these different areas. So if you need to note first, we are first at French industrialist making chips, and it's gonna get a little bit crazier from there.
Indeed. But first, we're going to go off to the races, quite literally, and that's why Miss Moneypenny had her fancy hat on. So we and that's where we first see Max Zorin, played by the one and only Christopher Walken, and Mayday, his second, played by the always interesting and exotic Grace Jones.
Christopher Walken looking very much like 1985 James Spader from The New Kids here too, with that blonde hair.
It's a young Mr. Walken.
It's one of those things like we've talked about before with other old movies where it's weird to see like these characters before they like now he plays Christopher Walken in every movie he's in, right. Like he's casted to play like the Christopher Walken.
He's like a caricature of himself.
Right. And this is kind of pre that when he was still, you can still hear that in there, but he's not, fully leaning into the Christopher Walken-ness yet.
This was like a test run for his Batman Returns role.
It is. It's very similar. His look is pretty.
Isn't his name Max in that too? Isn't it Max Shrek?
Yeah, Max Shrek. Yeah, Max Shrek
with the blonde hair, and he's an industrialist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Grace Jones. When I was a kid, I remember I was never I wasn't scared of Grace Jones.
You were terrified.
She was very off-putting. There were two people that were very off-putting to me in the 80s, and I'm still not. I mean, Grace Jones, I could take her or leave. I haven't thought about her, but I also hated Annie Lennox.
Okay, you didn't like short-haired women.
I didn't like short-haired women.
And then you know what happened? And you know what happened? You know what happened? You hair biased bastard.
I ended up looking like Sinead O'Connor because I didn't
like. You know who else he didn't like that had short hair brain?
Who's that?
The actress from The Substitute.
Oh, he hated her.
He hated her.
He was so rude to her.
What Diana?
Yeah.
Diana Verona? Was that what it was?
Yeah, you're horrible to her, and I feel bad for her. I'm gonna.
Or Jane Hetzko.
Yeah, Hetzko. I sent her 10 dozen roses.
That's why I wasn't here last week. I was suspended for my actions on the Substitute podcast
from like 2 months ago.
Right. We the wheels of justice move slowly.
We had to have there was an injunction and an appeal. Had to go through the necessary channels.
Had to get my union rep Chad Cruz to show up, and it took him 2 months.
There you go. That would explain the holdup. We also meet Sir Godfrey Tibbett, played by the one and only Patrick McNee. What a legend to be just in a sidekick character here, Toyman. He's in the freaking Waxwork, for God's sake.
Great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie. Another HBO favorite from my youth.
Pia loves that one.
Is this a character that we had seen in other Roger Moore, like Bond era films?
No,
The Sir Godfrey character.
No, but I mean, he was, he's famous for the Avengers TV series. Obviously, not the
British Avengers, not the MCU folks.
Right, I figured.
Yeah, that was his big thing. So, I mean, and that's obviously. So this was kind of like a spy all-star team when he gets in there. Zorin has his own horse named Pegasus. And Godfrey mentions like his detective friend there's something going on with this horse, and there's some horse fixing going on, and so
some horseplay, you may say.
Ooh, very nice wordplay, Ryan Campbell.
Yes.
So Bond's like, I'd like to talk to this detective friend of yours, and then Bond meets this man at like this dinner theater, and this is like one of the absolute worst shows I've ever seen in my life. This woman singing, and there's her assistants all in black with butterflies on like fishing poles.
This is also a restaurant that's within the Eiffel Tower. That's some key.
Yes, it's there, and and so Mayday shows up, all dressed in black, takes out one of the butterfly operators, and then. I guess, did she ever own, or were these butterflies just deadly to begin with? Anyway, she
it's definitely
fishing rod.
Yeah.
It's definitely the opera scene in Mission Impossible where there are like a bunch of assassins trying to kill, with. So maybe that's kind of frames why this movie didn't quite work for me, as I've seen a lot of.
And Grace Jones in her assassin's outfit. Picture a kid from Kid and Play in a ninja costume.
She's like literally has a fishing pole and she's just like dangling it, and she's like swatting at the other person. It just was very for this being one of the first action set pieces since the cold open or the initial
cold opening. Get it?
Yeah, that's well done. No pun intended. It just it was very awkward, just very kind of weird.
This was not a very good scene, but we're getting a good one coming up now. They're about to make up for this nonsense because the detective is killed via butterfly on a fishing line
with a rather just small prick to the neck. I guess maybe they're poisoned or something because Yeah, because they show like the wound and it's not very bloody or anything. It's like
so yeah, Bond gives chase, and yes, as you mentioned, they're already in the Eiffel Tower or at the bottom, so they're up there, and then Mayday gets all the way to the top. She parachutes off, which causes Bond to have to race down. He hops on top of the elevator, which has obviously been replaced since Superman flew and threw it into outer space because it had a nuclear bomb on it.
they got a few spares just sitting around for because shit happens all the time, you know.
So Bond then takes a cab, and he literally takes the cab because the cabbie's like not paying attention. So he just takes it, and he's chasing down this parachute to see where she's going to land. We get a big taxi car jump. The taxi cab becomes a convertible taxi cab. It gets cut in half, but none of this slows down Bond. That's classic James Bond.
This is all just another day at the office, brain for
right.
James Bond.
And then Mayday lands on this boat that's hosting a wedding. And then Bond stops on the bridge, jumps onto the boat, but he did not plan on Max being there with a speedboat to pick up Mayday, and then Bond's just on this thing disrupting a wedding.
Crashing through the roof onto the cake. Again, another bit of the goofy side of James Bond.
Right.
Kind of just, disrupting it, and then he picks up a piece of the wedding cake and hands it to the bride. So again, we're kind of getting that comedic flavor for this film.
Indeed. Now we are going to go to a thoroughbred sale.
Not just any thoroughbred sale. This is like you got to come cosplaying as a Victorian.
This is like
aristocrat.
This is like the Catalina wine mixer.
Yes,
thoroughbred sales. This is the top tier. And fortunately, Sir Godfrey is able to get him an invite. He comes as James St. John Smythe, which is a mouthful. Godfrey poses as his valet. So he gets there. He's checking in with Scarpine, who has a scar on his face. So that's easy to tell him apart.
I wonder if his name was originally just Pine, and then after he got the scar, they were like
maybe named after Pinewood Studios.
Maybe. That's good. That's good. I like that.
Godfrey is snooping around the stables, and he's like, "Oh, I saw Pegasus 1 minute. The next minute, there was no Pegasus."
It's like he grew wings and flew away.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Now, so that then he shows, but then we meet another staffer named Jenny Flex.
It's a good name.
Ryan Campbell.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Did you recognize Jenny Flex?
Oh man. I did.
Don't be looking up on your IMDb, you bastard.
I mean, she looked familiar, and I assume it's from something in the 80s, but I don't know if I can tell you. But she did. It was she did look familiar from some adventure movie or something that I've watched before.
Oh, you've watched it before.
Adventure movie, he says.
Oh, it's Last Crusade. I see it.
Elsa Schneider.
That's right.
Dr. Schneider.
Elsa. I couldn't, without the Nazi get up, I couldn't put my finger on it.
She's good.
She was also in RRR.
Oh.
I know about that.
She's had a long career. Good for her.
We should do that.
I remember her from Major League 2. Major League 2, another HBO staple.
RRR, isn't that like a 4-hour movie?
It is pretty long. Yeah,
you could do the notes on that one and the podcast on that one with Chad Cruz, and you guys could split it up into a 4-parter. So yeah, figuring they get to the room, and they're like, okay, they're probably listening, so they're like sweeping the room, and they're just having some conversation where James is basically talking down his valet.
And I love all this competent spy stuff. This is what I like in a James Bond movie. They're like, the room's probably bugged. They're expecting people, so they find the bug in the lamp. It's a pretty conspicuous bug, just like stuck on there with gum at the top of the lamp. But then they have a tape recorder that they play back a conversation, so they can snoop around. I'm on board all this stuff. I like all this.
There's a reception, and Bond goes over, and he first tries to enter Zorin's office, but Mayday is like, no, go that way. You're going the wrong way. But then Bond's
How does she
outside.
not recognize him from the
I
Eiffel
know,
Tower? It's not like he was disguised.
right. And
Well,
she
had that
we get
hat
that.
thing on, and she was running. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's
But
possible.
when she was watching him sit there, or was she so focused on killing the detective?
Yeah, she was locked in.
She did not see the guy sitting across from him.
She didn't think there was reason to. He meets lots of people. You can't just pin them all, brain.
Yeah, that part was another part where I was like, how did she not already know who? At least that this was the guy who was chasing her. I mean, she may not have known it was James Bond, but
to be fair, she also says at one point, like, I've seen him somewhere.
Right.
So like, there's something there. Like she filed it away in the back of her mind somewhere. So.
Well, Bond's outside and he uses some cool glasses to look inside, get a better look inside. And he sees Zorin handing a check over to a young lady. He doesn't know her name yet. It's Stacy Sutton, played by the one and only Tanya Roberts. Toyman, give us some Tanya Roberts filmography. I know you're itching.
Filmography, not discography. I mean, I have to say that most of the younger listeners probably know her best from That 70s Show, but I'm going to go Beastmaster, of course.
I would have said Sheena.
Oh, yes. Fair enough.
And wasn't she in a later season of Charlie's Angels? Was she like...
She was in an episode of Silk Stockings.
She this is not the first time we've talked about her on the podcast either.
Well, we did a Beastmaster podcast, but when else did we talk?
We also did a Body Slam podcast.
Of course, Body Slam.
Body.
Yeah. We did that this year.
Oh yeah, she had a run in the early 80s of Charlie's Angels, Love Boat, Fantasy Island.
Yeah.
Hitting them all.
Good for her. Good for you, Tanya. Oh, she's passed, but good for her at the time. So at the reception, Bond meets oil man Bob Conley. Toyman, I will turn this one to you. Where have you most recently seen Bob Conley? Because I know you watched this movie not too long ago.
Bob Conley. Okay. You've got me thinking about Tanya Roberts now. I'm not thinking about Bob Conley. So what did I not pay attention to during my viewing of A View to a Kill?
Bob Conley plays Captain Stearns in a little movie called Death Wish 3.
I feel bad that we never get the Death Wish 3 obscure people that you throw our way, Brian. We fail you in that department.
I should have known that because I'm just as much of a canon mark as
and
Breen
you just
is.
Watched it a few weeks ago.
And we just watched it a couple of weeks ago because I got the new 4K in. So it should be fresh in my head.
That's why I was
literally in 4K.
Right
there.
Literally.
Well, he's there. I believe his name is like Redwood Manning or something is his real name. Real strong name. But Captain Stearns
it's Manning Redwood.
Oh, I had it reversed. There you go.
That was you had his government file name.
Yes. I do everything alphabetically by last name. So yeah, he's good. He's an oil man and he's there because he's a good friend of Zorin. And
you don't know shit about horses.
We'll know more about him later. Bond also speaks to Dr. Mortner, who is like the horse doctor, but we find out he's been a doctor in Zorin's life for quite some time.
And he's got a wicked monocle, Brain.
He does, like Dr. Mindbender.
Like it just somehow sits and it's like carved to sit right in his nose, right off his nose there. It's very nice.
It's very nice. And then, but the doctor conversation is interrupted when Max shows up.
And I still got to pause though, because to keep everybody up to date.
Yeah.
We're now adding horse breeding.
Yeah.
And oil interests into it.
Yeah.
And,
this is a very complex plan,
and like chemistry stuff, and so we're adding a few more, monkeys into this barrel.
He does get to talk to Max when he mentions like fishing. Max excuses himself. Obviously, a call back to the awful scene at the dinner theater.
I do like when Bond does that. That's one of my favorite things when Bond like. There's so many spy movies where the dude is trying to be like undercover or dig deep. My favorite Bond is when there is still like a little bit of it where he's like, you and I both know what the hell's going on here. And he does kind of, either he'll just use his James Bond name or, you know, make little jabs like that he knows what's going on, or he's probably a spy. Like, I love when he does stuff like that as a character.
Bond then makes his way over to still he doesn't know her name, but it's Stacey Sutton. And, you know, his usual, you know, Bond, one thing he never has trouble with, Ryan Campbell, is picking up the ladies.
No, and this is definitely the Bond era where he lets his dick do the guiding sometimes. Like, obviously Bond being a ladies' man has always been an aspect of the character.
Right.
But not so much where he's like on the balcony, sees a chick and he's like, I'm banging that tonight. Right. Like he's just letting the dick do the walking at this, at different points.
So
I'm sure she's got something interesting. I don't know. I probably need to pump her for some information.
Oh, yeah. So that's not working. And then he doesn't really have time to continue because Mayday goes over there. It's like, your helicopter's coming. Come on. I will escort her. No, I'll do it. So Mayday, she doesn't like this character. And again, she knows she's seen him before. So now it's the evening and both Godfrey and Bond are snooping around the stables. We find an elevator button, Ryan Campbell.
Yes, very hidden to Godfrey, but Bond walks right up and is like, hey, it's this big button that's sticking out of the banister right here. Mm-hmm. So they hit that, and now the stable is a secret elevator that descends down into a secret lab. Right. And there is now an assembly line of microchips, and they see like steroids and stuff.
They don't get to that yet. Yeah, he's looking. So Godfrey goes to check on Pegasus, sees like the leg is bandaged. Bond has got his little stethoscope out. He's cracking the safe or the locked cabinet, whatever you want to call it. And they find the steroids in the tubes. And then they're like, oh, now they put it all together. They've got a microchip in the horse that releases a steroid when it needs to. Like, okay, this is the part of the race where most you're going to wear down. Boom, you hit the little button on the thing and this horse gets.
I would assume that also would keep it away from like detection. Like if they're doing like testing the blood or something to see if there's steroids in it, you can control the release until after it's cleared, whatever. And then you hit the button when it's then you hit the NOS when he's in the stables.
Yes. You're right. But then they hear goons coming. So then they have to go. And then they find a way out there. And now they're in like this whole microchip warehouse.
Do you think when goon school, they train you like there's a class where, listen, before you walk into any room, you want to make sure that you make small talk before you descend a staircase or round a corner or open double doors?
I would assume at this point that nothing ever really happens here because you don't normally have, MI6 people. So it's probably so routine at this point. There's, let's go through the routine here. We'll report nothing as we have the past 9,000 nights. So I think they just get complacent because nothing happens.
There you go.
I'm sure their training tells them otherwise.
Goon School, Ryan, that could be like the next Minions type thing. We should work on a script for that about all the villains that are doing all the nonsensical stuff that makes no sense, and they like break protocol and find out some massive plot to undermine their supervillain or something.
That does sound like a DreamWorks film. Like I can see the trailer. Like the evil villains, but have they ever told the story of the goons or something like that?
To hell with that. Let's start our Bulletproof animation wing.
There you go. Bulletproof Pictures Animation Studio.
That's right.
Let's talk about what R-rated content we can turn into cartoons a la Rambo and RoboCop.
Ooh, let me think about it. Paul Kersey. The friendly.
Can you imagine a Death Wish cartoon?
Saturday afternoon style Death Wish cartoon.
Architect by day, vigilante by night.
He's got a pistol that fires a red laser and it misses everybody, so he ends up just punching everyone in the face at the end of the show.
That
G.I. Joe style.
Sound like Paul Kersey. He does not miss that often.
Oh no, the drug dealers are actually murderous robots. Now I can shoot them.
I was just gonna say that. They're all robots. At the end of every episode, there's a reveal that the person he shot was a robot.
And yeah, then there's like a Dr. Claw, mysterious, like who's been making all these robots that we never quite get to.
Every episode he
Only
meets
John
a
P.
new.
Ryan did the voice. John P. Ryan has to do his voice.
Well,
Every episode he meets a new woman with a daughter, and by the end of it, they're dead.
they're raped on what?
Whoa!
They end up
Whoa.
impaled on
What's this, like
fences.
liquid television on MTV?
This is.
You can get
off.
away with a lot on cartoons nowadays, especially if
Well,
it's just streaming.
But to the point about, we make the joke about every movie, it's a different woman and family, they get killed or whatever like that. Someone needs to do a supercut of the end of every Death Wish set to the end credits of The Incredible Hulk and give Paul Kersey the sad walking away music.
I don't know how sad he is, though, really. I'm sure he is.
I'll just find another one.
Exactly. He's good. But let's get back to our movie at hand. Although we could easily talk about Death Wish 3, which also celebrated a big anniversary.
This was a 85, just as a side note, was an insane year for movies, Brain. And it actually explains a lot about, who you are. Because it was like, what, Commando, Goonies.
Goonies was 84.
I thought it was.
Gremlins is 84.
Because as I was watching this, I was like, what else came out in 85? Like, am I missing something here?
That is why Toyman will tell you. Toyman's year is 96. 85 is 100% my year. Because to your point, Ryan, Death Wish 3. The first WrestleMania was 1985.
Mm-hmm.
Remo Williams, Commando.
That was Commando.
Invasion USA, American Ninja.
Insane Action 2. So this wasn't the worst movie of 1985, Brain.
Rapping.
There you go. Rapping.
But it was a heck of a year.
The bastard
for action.
It was great. Fright Night. My all-time favorite horror movie, Fright Night, 1985.
To your point, Brandon, it's not. I don't think that's necessarily just nostalgia, but I mean, some of it I'm sure is. But that is, even just from my perspective, that is an insanely loaded year for like movies that have
and
all
a lot of this
held
stuff,
and withstood the test of time.
Yeah, and a lot of that, I didn't watch Death Wish 3 in 1985. It was a long time before I got into that. There was so much stuff. I was happy with what I had. I'm like, oh shit, there's more 1985 that I haven't uncovered.
Friday the 13th, Part 5.
Oh, that was
the New Beginning.
First Blood, Part 2.
That was all right. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, we talked about Remo Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so much stuff.
Mm-hmm. I believe The Equalizer premiered, which again, that was another thing. As a kid, I'm like, I don't care about The Equalizer. Number one, I wasn't even up at 10 o'clock when that thing aired. But later in life, I found The Equalizer, and I love that TV show.
Mad Max.
Ryan Campbell, don't forget, Missing in Action 2 was 1985.
That's what I just said.
Toyman doesn't listen to us.
I kind of murmured. To be fair, I murmured it.
How much he hates it.
No, I did. I murmured it under my breath, so maybe you didn't pick it up.
He had.
I just had to remind you because I know what a super fan you became of that movie.
And that only was in 1985 because they didn't want to release it in 1984, though.
Ewoks: The Battle for Endor.
I remember being excited about that.
Weird Science was 85.
Good. I remember being excited for Ewoks, and despite all the newspaper coverage of it leading up, was like, no, there will not be Han Solo, and it's just Ewoks. But I was like, I don't fucking know.
Oh shit! Back to the Future. Jeez, Pete.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Real Genius, one of my favorite comedies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what a year, man.
Was that
Jim Cotta was 85?
Was Crush Groove in 1985?
Crush Groove was 84, I believe.
Okay.
American
Street
Ninja?
And Crush Groove were both 84.
Well, of course, we know because all the anniversary.
No, Crush Groove was 85. Beat Street was 84. Crush Groove was 85.
Right. You know why? Yeah, Beat Street was 84, but you know what beat Street?
We must beat Street.
Breakin' got out before Beat Street.
The Last Dragon that we reviewed this year?
Yeah.
Yes,
1985. 1985. The best year for me and one of the greatest years in pop culture. And I mean, that's coming off of 84, which had Gremlins and Ghostbusters. And like, it was an embarrassment of riches back then.
It's like Return of the Jedi came out and by that point, it was the dawn of the golden age of blockbusters at that point.
It was. If I could only go back in time, and I appreciated it, but I wonder if I'd appreciate it even more now that I know what I know.
I know. I got you.
Right, here we go. So yeah, they get to the microchip warehouse, and then they get these guys and they box them up, literally.
What and all those movies we just mentioned.
Yeah,
this particular fight scene does not rank.
No,
this might be the moment watching this fight scene and being like, "What else?" Where I went to the internet was like, "What else came out in '85?" Because I have to know what I'm comparing this to.
Yeah, well, and this again was Roger Moore was advancing in age, and he was
long in the tooth, as they say.
Even he was like, "I'm getting too old to be doing this and being with these younger actresses. It just doesn't look right." So,
and to be fair too, I went down a rabbit hole not too long ago, and there was a good YouTube channel that did like some deep dive breakdowns of like almost every Bond movie, like talked about the conception of it, how they decided who they would cast, like the production woe, like they were like 2-hour-long documentaries on every single one of them. And one of them talked at length about how they had kind of a come to Jesus moment after this one, after Roger Moore's time, and we're like, things are moving, like what movies look like, action has changed, like how do we keep with the times, because this movie felt a little dated in the grand scheme of what the rest of the entertainment world was doing in regards to action at the time.
And you brought that up as well with like just the microchip story, like computers and all that whole world was becoming a big thing. But also, I mentioned it earlier, Moonraker. I mean, that was a obviously direct response to all the freaking space shit.
Right.
Star Wars was huge. Well, let's put Bond in space.
Yep.
When they did Live and Let Die, blaxploitation was a big thing. So they did kind of had that blaxploitation type storyline there. So yeah, Bond was always like a chameleon and tried to blend it. But yeah, so then things were getting bigger action. Well, yeah, Roger Moore was not the guy to be in a big action movie. That's where we went younger, and we went with Timothy Dalton.
And actually wanted it to be Pierce Brosnan at this point. That was one of the things they talked about in that documentary.
In his contract for Remington Steele, so
yeah,
get out of it.
And which he even took that role to audition to pretty much be Bond, and it ended up kind of biting him in the ass. But they got around to it eventually.
They did. So obviously, when these boxed up goons come along the conveyor belt, that sends up a red flag. So.
Yeah. The quality assurance checks, they caught that one pretty quick.
Yeah. So Max and Mayday were sparring and getting hot and bothered while doing so. So obviously Max not happy when he receives the phone call, but it's an important one. So he's like, "Let's go to St. John Smythe's room." And Bond is trying to and they're putting the whole place on lockdown. The drawbridge is going up. There's gates coming down. And Bond is on the outside.
They're putting the crocodiles in the moat.
Yeah, Bond just gets in there. But he gets upstairs. They're already looking in his room. There's nowhere to be found. So what does he do? Thinking on his feet and with his penis, he jumps in Mayday's bed. So when she goes to her room, he's like, you said you were going to take care of me personally earlier. And
now's the time.
And so that's like the second woman he gets in this movie. Good for you, Bond. So
apparently they went
very,
all night
very
long.
different ends of the spectrum there. Tanya Roberts and Grace Jones.
Well, he didn't get Tanya yet. He got the submarine captain.
That's right.
That's right. You got her earlier. That's right.
But apparently Mayday is also not opposed to mixing business with pleasure, because it sounds like they went all night long, Brain.
And maybe a little longer.
Longer.
You're right. So the next morning, Bond is called to Zorin's office. Zorin has facial recognition type software.
Ahead of his time.
And
so Silicon Valley types, Brain.
Mm-hmm. And that's when his computer tells him, "You are sitting across from James Bond."
Somehow apparently has access to classified MI6 document databases.
He's probably got the KGB database.
And he keeps a poker face about it too. It's like the revelation's happening while the guy's standing right there, and he actually maintains his composure. He doesn't burst out with this,
right.
aha, I've got you now. Like he's playing it cool, like he's playing the long game with this.
Yeah, he invites James to go riding with him later. So Bond then after the meeting, he's like, Sir Godfrey.
What does he say? I love a good ride in the morning.
Yeah. That's right. That's what he says.
A little bit of innuendo.
That's after he was like, did you sleep last night? He's like, oh, I eventually got off.
Ooh. So Bond sends Sir Godfrey into town under the guise of getting the car washed, but really to get word to M.
I did like that bit though, because he had just washed the car.
Yeah.
That's and he just takes the bucket of dirty water and shucks it back onto the car. That's a good bit. I like the dynamic between those two.
Yeah, they were good. But sadly that's coming to an end because this car wash becomes one of the world's most dangerous car washes. And now we cut back to the horse riding where Zorin proves to be a cheating bastard.
Yeah, now it's about to become the world's most dangerous horse riding complex.
Right.
Most dangerous stable.
Yeah, Bond does manage to survive all of Zorin's tricks and then at some point just gets his horse to get the hell off the track and through the woods.
Yeah, I missed because so what was the thing that he put into like his? I thought it was like I thought it was like a weapon, but it was like was it a button that triggered the steroids? Is that what it was?
Quite possibly.
Because they slipped something in like his staff, and then like and when all the
right, yeah, that's what they said. That would that's what they mentioned. Yeah, like okay, that's how they probably the jockey's stick gets it. Yeah. So Bond goes through the woods. Everyone's chasing after him. Here comes Godfrey in the car. Perfect timing, you think, right? This couldn't have worked out better until he sees that it's Mayday driving the car and Godfrey is dead in the back seat.
Bum, bum, bum.
So now they knock Bond out, throw him next to dead Godfrey, and then they push this beautiful Rolls Royce into the lake.
And this is pretty early in the film for like the gig to be up. I mean, I know it feels like the movie's been on for an hour and a half already, but yeah, I mean, this is pretty early for the bad guy to already know that this dude is a spy.
Well, he knows, and he's taking care of him as far as he can tell, because they do, to the bad guy credit here, they do wait a moment to make sure he doesn't float back up. Unlike like Dr. Evil would have just already left.
But Bond being clever, and I'm curious if this would work. He's using the air that's inflated in the tire.
Yeah. As like a scuba.
Yeah, it's like he's getting air so he can watch and wait till they waited. Okay, it's been enough time that a normal person would drown. Let's walk away.
Right. Yeah.
I wonder if that would work.
I'm not going to try. I'm going to assume that it would. I mean, it's air in there. Why not?
But I just can't see how he would get the solid air and not a bunch of water as well. I think that would be the trick.
I love solid air.
Well, it's like you couldn't create you wouldn't be able to create like enough of a vacuum to like not like to press if you've ever let air out of a tire where you can just kind of like thumb the little needle and the air comes out. How you would do that enough to where you didn't also just get a bunch of water in your mouth. I don't know, but that's why he's a spy, Brain.
Yeah.
I'm not the expert.
It's just a movie. You should really just relax.
That's what I'm saying. He's a spy. I trust him.
Okay. Well, anyway, now we find out, Toyman, that the KGB is not happy with Zorin. Now we're getting a little bit of Zorin backstory here. Seemingly, the KGB made Zorin.
Yeah, he's like Serpentor.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Serpentor, we see a young Dolph Lundgren briefly in this movie.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, you were too busy being angry, probably.
Probably.
Know why Dolph was in the movie, Ryan Campbell?
I do not. I didn't even know he was even in it. So how could I possibly know why he was in it?
He was in a relationship with Miss Grace Jones.
Oh.
So
that would be a very fire couple.
She got her boy toy apart in the movie. But the reason I say, speaking of Serpentor, is check out bulletproofaction.com and my What If Canon made a G.I. Joe movie, because I put Dolph Lundgren in the Serpentor role.
Nice.
Because
is that credited or is he uncredited?
I don't remember.
I mean, if he doesn't have a speaking part, he's just kind of saying the back.
Yeah, he did not. He was in there very briefly. And but yeah, Dolph's in there. And yeah, we find out that KGB, he's a genetic experiment of the KGB. But as far as General
You mentioned Rocky IV a few moments ago when we were going off the 1985 movies, because add Rocky IV to that list.
That is true as well. Rocky IV. It just didn't stop. 1985 refused to stop. It's like, here we go. We got some more for you. Again, when you got American,
you would have been at the theater every single freaking week.
I would have. If I was older, I would have been at, I would have been at, but that was the beautiful, that's like when we first got, when did we get our VCR? Yeah, in like 84. So yeah, this was prime going to this is why you wanted to, because there's tons of shit I want to rent. Come on now. All right. So yeah, they, once you're a KGB guy, you're always a KGB guy.
So add that in. We now have like somewhat genetic super soldiers or like some sort of KGB breeding program. So
that's right.
Add that into the barrel of monkeys.
There's a lot going on, and now we're gonna really pull it all together because Zorin's evil plan is to and Silicon Valley's domination of the tech industry with Project Main Strike. And he's holding this meeting on his Zeppelin, aka Blimp. And he's telling these guys sitting around this very low table.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
Why was that table so low?
I'm going to assume maybe it had something to do with just the way you have to engineer a blimp.
Right.
Like the ceiling can only be so high, so they had to keep the table low.
They needed the table low so something could rise up from it. Which we'll see. He's like, okay, everyone, $100 million to buy into this project. One guy's like, fuck that shit. All right, well, if you don't want to be a part of it, I respect that. Why don't you go outside, though? You can't hear the rest of the plan since you're not going to be involved. Mayday will get you a drink. You can wait out there. She takes him to like these stairs that turn into a slide, and then he slides right out of the Zeppelin.
Underrated Bond villain moment. That's really cool.
And
that's
then,
one of those ones where I was kind of surprised I'd never seen or was aware of that clip. But it was really, really cool.
And even better, when they cut back to Zorin, he's like, does anyone else want to drop out?
Nah.
Beautiful. That's interesting writing right there.
It's a shame we didn't get more of it.
Yep. Now we arrive in San Francisco, California, for those in the know.
City on the go.
And Bond is there. He meets CIA man Chuck Lee, who tells Bond about this drilling operation that Zorin's got going on over there.
Can we find out what led Bond to San Francisco?
So,
I know he just keeps ending up in the same exact place that Zorin is, but like, why did he end
Conley mentioned that he works with Zorin in San Francisco, so maybe that's what was his connection.
Gotcha. I'll take your word for it. I don't remember him saying that was.
He's like, he didn't know about. He helps with the drilling operation that he's.
I remember him saying that, but maybe I just assumed there's not a lot of oil drilling in San Francisco.
Well, maybe that's why he's like, well, what the hell? What are they drilling for oil? And I got to go check that out. Anyway, or maybe the CIA contacted him, and that's why they're like, hey, meet our guy Chuck Lee. He's also working on this thing. These agencies share information. They
hate each other. They're constantly trying to. They don't want each other getting in their way.
At times,
my investigation.
Sometimes you have to, and Anyway, so he finds out about this drilling operation. Mentions like, oh yeah, they used to be able to get like, what was it, crabs or lobster, but they all like just disappeared. We don't know where the hell they went. Well, you're gonna find.
Luckily, the captain of the SS Exposition is here to tell you all about it.
Right. And Bond then does some underwater investigating later that evening. Inside, Zorin has Conley like, all right, let's turn these pumps on full power. And Bond, of course, is outside where these pumps are, and he's nearly sucked in. He has to start taking off his scuba gear, which gums up the system. So now they're like, oh, shit, somebody's out there. As luck would have it, there's KGB people all sneaking around there, too. So they're like, these are the assholes who did it. So Bond gets away. The main KGB lady, Paula Ivanova, She gets away, and Bond now ends up at the Japanese bathhouse with this woman in the hot tub. This is woman number 3. This whore. This man whore that is James Bond.
This is like the peak of man whore Bond.
Mm-hmm. And then she tries to outspy James, but you don't outspy James Bond, Toyman.
No, you do not. That's why he's the super spy.
Yeah.
Can you call him that?
You can do what you want. Listen to me now, gentlemen. And this is my brain doing what my brain does at times.
Brain's brain.
There's like that Asian like music playing, which is what the tape that music, I swear to God, that is the same music from Death Wish 2 when Kersey and what's her name in the movie? Oh shit, now I'm pissed off. His wife. Yeah. Jill Ireland. When they're at the restaurant and he proposes to her. I swear, and with them both being like MGM movies.
I mean, if there's anybody on this planet's word I'm going to take for it, Brain, it's yours.
I swear it was that same music. I tried to get the Shazam going, but it wasn't figuring it out. But it could have just been, again, MGM stock music. MGM Asian stock music. I don't know. It sounded very much the same. I probably need to rewatch, put them on at the same time or something.
Well, I mean, Duran Duran got such a big check for doing the theme. They probably had to, go back to the well and reuse some of those themes.
Mm-hmm. So now Bond's going to go to City Hall because he's wondering why they're pumping water into the pipeline instead of like shooting it out or whatever the fuck they do with pipelines. I don't know.
I don't think the movie knows either.
I don't. So they're pumping this. They're like sucking water in. Like, why are you sucking water in? You should be wanting to keep the water. I don't know. So he's like, he's going to go to the City Hall. I'm going to be a reporter. And he's like, well, they just are using the water to test the lines to make sure there's not a leak first. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. And then he leaves. But now he sees this mysterious woman that he doesn't know her name, but didn't want to fuck him, Stacy Sutton.
And that doesn't happen often enough. He never forgets a face,
right.
Especially when it turns him down.
No, this is a vendetta.
Yeah, he's got unfinished business.
And so he sees her. She gets fired, though, because she's like protesting all this shit. But now
can the city council people fire
a state geologist?
Yeah, I don't know how it works. I don't know what the chain of command is.
I don't know who state geologists report to. Yeah, you would think they would have to be fired by somebody from this, like the governor's office would have to fire her. Anyway, so he follows her home. When he gets there, she just assumes he's a Zorin goon. But then actual Zorin goons show up and he helps her. So now they're like, oh, you're not a Zorin goon.
Which like, no, she says she's not much of a cook, but she's also not much of a decorator, Brain. Because there is not any.
Well, she mentions that she's had to sell everything off.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because Zorin has been trying to take over her family's. She inherited Sutton Oil, so he's been trying. So she's been fighting it, and and Zorin is like offering her way more money than the company's worth, which she did not cash that big check that he gave her. But yeah, she mentions that she's had to sell all the furniture off, and
okay, fair play movie. I apologize. I did not pick up on that. I just saw a fight scene in a big empty mansion and was like, what the heck?
Yeah. And, as a state geologist, she also knows that pumping seawater in the fault line would cause an earthquake. And, depending on the number of wells in this pipeline, would determine how much damage this thing would do. So,
man, does this guy got wells? Zorin's got wells.
He's got wells.
The well zoo.
And so we got to go to the file room because she's still. They fired her, but they did not get rid of her security, which is just poor HR. That is not how you do things. You fire somebody from a job, you take away their credentials immediately. They cannot log into anything. Their card is deactivated. Everything.
Usually it happens before you're fired, Brain. You go to log on your computer and you're like, oh, shit.
You would have told the guy at the security desk, this person no longer works here. Horrible, horrible. work over there at the city hall, you dumb shits. But anyway, Bond and Stacy go to the file room. They find the information they're looking for, but Zorin and Mayday find them. And here's quite a plot. Now they're going to murder the city hall guy, blame it on Bond, but then they're going to set it up so when Bond and Stacy go to escape, they're burned alive in the elevator.
It's just muck up the works.
It's like a double layered plot.
Yeah, just make a mess of the whole thing. And it's, this was pre-forensic detective work. Just make a mess of it.
Well, and they probably also figured the fire would burn up so much stuff.
Right,
too.
yeah.
It's like there'd be very little to go on. You just have these 3 dead bodies, and then you're like, okay, this guy called, saying there was a break-in. These are probably the 2 that broke in, because this cop, we're going to find out, isn't the sharpest.
Right. It's all bowed up nice and tidy.
They do manage to escape thanks to a fire hose and James Bond's ingenuity.
I did like the little bit of music there as they're coming down the fire escape. I thought that was a nice. Apparently, it's like a slowed down version of like the theme for them or something like there.
Okay.
It was a nice little bit. I like that.
And the crowd is all excited because they're seeing this man rescue this damsel in distress. There's and outside it's just a zoo.
But to a point I made earlier, Brian, this is like the 4th time his plan has just blown up in his face.
Yeah.
Like we're used to like Bond, when he gets caught, Bond gets caught. It happens. But this is like the 5th time, and it's not the last time in this movie. His plan's not gonna go well, and he's gonna get caught.
Yeah. It was a rough outing for him, but
it was. He's definitely towards the end of his career. You can tell.
He keeps trying though. So yeah, the crowd of onlookers are there. There's news reporters, there's firefighters. The cops are like, oh, I gotta talk to these people. And so he's like, who are you? Well, I'm with, MI6. No, you're not. He's a reporter. And so that obviously just muddies the waters. And like, okay, Bond has no choice. It's time to escape. And to me, this is a scene that I love so much. This is, the rest of the movie could do nothing, but this freaking fire truck scene, Toyman. This is something out of like the PM Entertainment playbook from years later.
Yeah, again, this one, it was not played totally for laughs, but again, there's more of that humor in there. So you're getting, an actual action sequence out of it, but the reactions and the demeanor of some of the characters during it, it's like, okay, am I watching James Bond, which doesn't have to be so rigid and serious, but you're like, am I watching a spy thriller or am I watching some type of goofy action comedy? It was like the vibe, again, this is one of those sequences, those scenes where the vibe was a little bit all over the place here. Same thing with the warehouse fight where the guy was, boxed up and, that's like something you'd see in a Three Stooges episode. Yeah. So there is, a little bit more slapstickiness to Roger Moore's James Bond.
Well, there's stickiness where Bond's concerned at all times.
For sure. That's definitely for sure.
Yeah. So, we get that whole thing. I love the whole thing. The cop car is getting destroyed because of the bridge. It's beautiful. Now, when they
Can you imagine anything more terrifying though, Brain, than like that?
No.
Like being on the bridge, like that the last car where like the wheels are over it and it literally is about to go straight up, and that'd be pretty terrifying.
Dude, yes, I agree. While they were at the file room, though, they did see something about this silver mine, this abandoned silver mine. So that's where they go next. And conveniently, they have this fire truck.
Add that in. Now we're adding mining silver mines to the...
Right. So we're getting to the silver mine, which is like underneath the San Andreas Lake. And they've got enough explosives to last forever. And
to blow up the world.
And they've got this big ass detonator that's sitting on top of just like a fucking crater full of explosives.
I like how all of the genius masterminding came down to just a fuck ton of explosives in a hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he may have been inspired by Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor once wanted to explode the San Andreas Fault.
To create its own island.
Can call its own, his own West Coast.
Because, Brain,
Costa de Lex.
Land is the one thing they're not making more of.
Right. Lex is smart. Max Zorin? We'll find out. So yeah, here they go and they have the little room. They find out, okay, this is exactly what they're going to do. But at this point, it's like, will they survive? And it's kind of a little bit more believable. Like, James Bond may not make it out because, to your point, Ryan, he's not been having a run of good luck here.
And I mean, I assume at the time people were probably aware that this was Moore's last, or that he was getting a little older. So maybe some people thought at the time that he'd go out, on his shield.
Maybe. And now the plan of Zorin is starting to come together. And it seems as it gets closer to happening, he's getting more and more psychotic, more unhinged. I mean, Toyman, he's sacrificing his own people. He doesn't care.
No, he's getting closer to the finish line, and he wants to get there at all costs. Doesn't matter. Everyone's expendable at this point.
Yeah, but the only ones safe are his boys Scarpine and Dr. Mortner, and they all go to the Zeppelin because they want a bird's eye view when Silicon Valley just vanishes off the face of the earth.
Which would be funny because you gotta assume that it would attract news media when the entire Silicon Valley floods, and it'd be like, why is there Zorin blimp just hovering around up there in the hills?
He may not have thought that through. Stacy, we do see she managed to make it out. Mayday now realizes that she's been working for an asshole, and now we get the classic bad guy turned Bond ally.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And they're
he turned her good with the power of his super spy dick.
Ooh, okay. I don't think it happened that quickly, but maybe.
Establish a connection, though.
Wait, do you mean the actual act?
I don't know what
they established a connection and then broke the connection and then established it again and then broke it and then established it again.
Right. She's probably like, that guy's an asshole and he wasn't as good of a lay as you were, James Bond. I'm on your side now.
Even though I killed your friend in the beginning and made you run up the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
What's a few dead friends between lovers, right?
Well, what? You're right, though. All right. They got to get this detonator as far away from all those explosives as possible. So they lower him on this crane, and then they get it on one of those little carts. And they're like, okay, let's push it down the mine. But the goddamn handbrake locks in. So now Mayday sacrifices herself to get that detonator away. Tells
she probably
Bond,
could have hopped off once it cleared the mine.
Yeah, she probably could have. But maybe she felt her whole life was a lie at that point, and she just wanted to die.
She just wanted revenge.
Bond's like, get Zorin for me. And now we're at, if you're going to be in San Francisco, Ryan Campbell, you may as well use the goddamn Golden Gate Bridge for
That's
your
right.
family.
It's right there. There's really no other, landmark in that city that would be recognizable like that. So yeah, you gotta not a helicopter quite, but you got a blimp, you got a dangling James Bond. Let's finish this thing at the Golden Gate Bridge.
You got Bond and Zorin fighting on top of the bridge, which obviously was making me very anxious.
Yep, me as well.
These things,
not a fan of fights.
No. And then just when you think, okay, you got rid of Zorin, then that doctor jumps in and he's got dynamite. Oh. And him and Scarpine get theirs. And yeah, I don't want to talk much about this bridge because it makes my feet tingle.
Also, what was featured on the movie poster, Brain, we've got Zeppelin in the bridge and everything right there. Like, they're pretty much kind of rare to just put the climax finale of the movie right there on the movie poster.
Well, they did it. But you didn't know at the time that that could have been the beginning of the movie for all you knew. But instead, we were in Paris. We were in wherever Zorin's place was, somewhere in France.
We're in the stable.
He's a French industrial. We had a warehouse.
We were on an offshore oil rig.
We were in a Japanese bathhouse. We were all over the place. We were in Stacy's unfurnished home because she had to sell everything. Yeah, we were all over. Anyway, speaking of all over, we cut back to jolly old England at MI6 headquarters. General Gogol wants to give Bond the coveted Lenin Award, making him the first non-Russian to ever receive it for his work in taking out their traitorous Zorin. And plus, he's happy because he doesn't want his Silicon Valley contacts to go away.
And all get flooded away. Yeah.
But where is Bond to receive this prestigious award? Nobody knows. Nobody's heard from him since the mission ended. But Q and his robot surveillance dog, which we did establish early on in the film during the initial meeting, finds James Bond and Stacy in her shower. Oh, James.
And a nice little Easter egg that Stacy's cat is named Pussy.
Yes.
It's on the bowl. It's on the food bowl.
The famous Pussy Galore from earlier Bond. And then once again, Toyman, it's Q the Duran Duran. And credits.
We begin with it. We end with it.
Your final thoughts on A View to a Kill, Toyman?
This is one that I think nostalgia definitely takes over. Like I said, this and License to Kill are the films that I remember just watching the most when I was younger, and my introduction into the world of James Bond. I'm not as avid of a James Bond fan as some. The ones like with Pierce Brosnan, I saw some of those in the theaters. Daniel Craig, I've seen most of those. I own several of those. So this is not one of those series where I own every entry and watch them incessantly. This was actually my return to the series after probably several years of me watching any of the ones that popped up on cable. I don't think it's a perfect film. I think it leans a little too much into the silliness at times, but that was Roger Moore's style from some of the other films as well. This was just kind of like like a weekend afternoon watch, just kind of like a little bit of comfort food on television, if you will. Just, the nostalgia took over. I'm a fan of it for that sake. I wouldn't even say it's my favorite James Bond. It's just the one of the two that I have the most love for because of them being my introduction, like we touched upon at the beginning of the show.
Right. Ryan Campbell, I know you have thoughts.
Yeah, my issue isn't with the tone. I think that's probably where a lot of people that don't like it go to. And I don't mind that. Like I liked a little bit of that in my Bond. I think that's a necessary part of Bond, the character. And even in the more serious films, they usually inject a few of those moments specifically between Bond and Moneypenny or Bond and Q or, whoever it may be, you get those moments. So like none of that bothered me. For me, it just is, it's doing way too much. It's really convoluted. We've been kind of alluding to that as we just keep injecting. Like now we're at like horse breeding, super soldier, oil rig that didn't really, the oil rig didn't even need to be a thing. And we have drilling and sterile. Yeah. It's just, there's too much. It's a hat on a hat on a hat on a hat. And I know like sometimes like the convoluted villain plan is like a Bond staple, but it's just too much. I think it weighs the plot down. I think Max Zorin, Christopher Walken was a really good villain. There's a lot there, but he gets kind of lost in the shuffle of what's all going on. And by the time he finally like makes his turn to be the maniacal, unhinged maniac, it's just way too late. I think that should have happened middle of the movie, and that's who he is for the rest of the movie. He kind of gets lost in the shuffle of Bond jumping from set piece to set piece to set piece. And I think it was my final point I'll make is it seemed like they almost thought of a bunch of really cool Bondish scenes and then just figured out how to make some sort of a plot, tie them all together,
Like
like they felt like
plot.
Yeah, like they were like they went to a notebook of a bunch of ideas they've had over the years. Like, oh, what if there's a fire truck chase? Oh, what if there's a scene in an elevator in a building that's on fire? Oh, what if there's a, he's in a mine and it's about to explode, like whatever. And then they just figured out how to tie all those together with some loose semblance of a plot. It's kind of how it felt. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know. There is some good things there. The performances are good. Again, I liked Max Zorin. I think he could have done more. I didn't mind the comedic tone in different points. It just could use like pull back a little bit. Give me like 15% less of everything.
Yeah, the whole horse part of it really didn't need to be there.
And that being the first act too, it's like, man, it just takes forever for the thing to get
going. It's like they already like we're like, oh, we pretty much know it's this Max Zorin guy. But they still go through the trouble of like, okay, well, we got to go. And yeah, that part I could probably have done without any of the horse stuff. And yeah, I don't know about the logistics of the water and how it gets but it's all right. But again, I'm with Toyman. This has such a nostalgia to me, and it has the awesome Duran Duran song, and it has a young Dolph Lundgren. It has all these little things. It was in a year of amazing films. You know, is it my favorite? No, but is it in my top 5? Yes, just because it has that fondness in my heart.
I do think if I had been a kid at that time that it came out, I probably would feel differently about it, because a lot of the set pieces are,
yeah, I mean, all the pair and like the whole with her jumping, and not the fucking thing with the butterflies. That's stupid. But after that, all good with the car. That's that's classic James Bond. I love the freaking fire truck thing. It's just completely over the top, ridiculous. But yeah, not the best, but again, to me, it is definitely up there on my list of James Bond, and I'm glad we finally covered a little 007 here on the podcast. We're at episode 181, and we've never done a James Bond, so we could scratch that off the
there you go
list. Such a long-ranging franchise, so many stars, so many people have been a part of it, and we're finally getting around to it. 40-year anniversary of this film, and it took us almost as long to talk about one of them.
And we might have to do License to Kill next year, because I think that would be like is that an 89? We'll figure it out. It doesn't have to be on a milestone anniversary, but maybe License to Kill for next year, where we take a much different turn from where we were here. All right, folks, that is our A View to a Kill episode. I do want to remind you to go to bulletproofaction.com. As this drops later today, I'll be reviewing the brand new Wildcat movie, so you could check that out. Toyman, you will have another edition of No Surrender Cinema this week.
I will have one. I'm still trying to narrow down what it will be on, but I have started watching the new show Last Samurai Standing on Netflix. So if not in this episode, if not in this column of No Surrender Cinema, look for my thoughts on that coming up soon, because I have watched the first episode and I am going to continue with the series.
Very good. Ryan Campbell will, speaking of Netflix and series, Ryan Campbell, Stranger Things begins its final run.
That's right. The first half of the final season. So be shooting for hopefully, possibly Friday if I really get to it. If not, Saturday. Hope to have that all finished up for the first half and have my review in. But yeah, I mean, with each episode being like 2 hours, it's going to take me a little bit of time. But it is conveniently, it's a holiday weekend, so I'll have a little bit of time to get it in.
Speaking of the holiday, on Thanksgiving Day, a brand new edition of World's Most Dangerous, as I share some of the world's most dangerous kitchens. You can check that out. Again,
perfect tie-in
on Thanksgiving, and of course it is Thanksgiving. What are we thankful for? I could tell you for sure I am thankful for everybody who listens to this podcast, who visits the website, who interacts with us on social media. Obviously, you are a huge part of why we are doing this. Otherwise, we would just be talking to the void, and I don't want to do that. I enjoy having an audience that obviously appreciates what we're doing here. Ryan Campbell, what are some of the things you're thankful for?
I am thankful for friends that I can also come on here and talk about action movies from 40 years ago, Brain.
Oh, yeah. Who else has given you that? What other friend do you have?
Right.
God
knows. I could just be shouting thoughts into the void, but it's nice to hop on here, and discuss with you guys and talk about things we like and dislike. And from my perspective, see a bunch of movies that I probably wouldn't watch otherwise a lot of the time. So I'm just thankful to have an outlet where we can all, hang out and talk about movies. It's fun.
Toyman, I'm sure you're thankful for something.
To echo Ryan's point, I'm thankful that I have an outlet to talk to you gentlemen. We kind of fill avoid. We have a role, each of us. Brain, obviously, you like a lot of the same nostalgic things that I do, but some of the films, even some of the films that have turned out to be your favorites, you did not watch until later on.
Right.
Whereas I've got kind of like those initial memories of like the video stores or watching them with my cousins. And then I like getting Ryan's reactions to things because he really is the virgin on a lot of these films. You know, first time. Thank you for the reaction. That made that comment even better.
Han took my virginity tonight.
He took it.
Yeah,
others. I mean, he was sleeping with everybody.
Yeah.
Probably just accidentally happened.
But you know, if you have something like a body slam or a blood fist or a black belt, like I can understand Ryan Campbell not seeing that, but to even get him to watch a James Bond film, and we were talking about how it took us so long to actually have one discussed on the podcast, and to have this actually be his first viewing, I mean, that's crazy that, you know, it's that different era. Like he's mentioned, you know, the Pierce Brosnan era is kind of like his James Bond.
Right.
So it's just kind of cool to get the varying opinions. It's not about the liking and disliking. It's just cool to get those different vibes, the different memories, you know, you seeing certain things in the theaters, maybe me renting them, you know, maybe Ryan catching them when he was younger or not till he was older. So I just appreciate that we have a different outlook, but usually there's either a sense of unity about our opinion on something, and when we disagree, it makes the podcast even more entertaining. So
we're not just all the same age guys sharing the same opinion every single week.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Because that would get a little that would get a little monotonous, and you know, people might not love us as much as they do.
You know what? I think Queen Latifah said it best. UNITY. UNITY, that spells unity. Thank you.
It does. I verified that.
Who you calling a bitch?
Oh, Toyman with the language. So yeah, there you go. Thanksgiving. You know, obviously, we're thankful again for all of you. Next week, the plan is the newly released, more recently released 2025 Death Stalker, possibly with a special guest. That's the plan right now. Everything seems to be in order for that, but until it happens,
yes.
Till it
Shades
happens.
of Survivor Series 96 and 1990, we're going to have a mystery partner.
Oh, is it Gobbledygooker?
Is there an egg in the BPA?
Out of an egg?
Hopefully the Death Stalker episode does not lay an egg.
At the BPA headquarters, there's just an egg that's been sitting there.
There is an egg. I see it right now, and there's something popping out of it. But that's here 365 for some reason. But yeah, that is the plan. And we're going to try to make that happen. And as of right now, it seems like it's going to happen. So join us for that. And then you know what? We'll be around. It's going to be getting close to Christmas. I'm sure we will have some Christmas related episodes. We will have our annual year end, or kind of year in review.
One of my favorites of the year, Brandon. I always enjoy that.
And then at the very end of the year, I have something.
Ooh, we talking about it?
Not yet.
Okay.
I have something that I'm working on behind the scenes. We will be taking a week off, but we will still be providing you with something at the end of the year. But we'll get more into that in the coming weeks. But again, thank you so much for listening to our View to a Kill episode. And as always, stay tuned for more of the Bulletproof Podcast.